Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 102. Audio source: WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. Sage stew of the Crown Prince to welcome unexpected guests. At first, Xie Lian had planned to show off his culinary skills, but after tonight, his confidence dropped by 1,000,000-fold. Hua Cheng had suggested that he could make dinner instead, but how could Xie Lian have the face to ask him to cook after Hua Cheng fixed his door and cleaned his shrine too? Who in their right minds would treat their guests this way? Besides, who did he take an esteemed Supreme Ghost King for? Fortunately, he brought plenty of supplies back from town, and although a large portion of it went into Xie Lian's pot, there were still some buns and pies, veggies and fruits left, so they munched on what they had. But after munching, what then? The next day, the problem was solved on its own. Bright and early in the morning, the door of Puqi Shrine opened to the knocking of a bunch of village girls who came to offer large pots of porridge and a roasted chicken. The village girls were shy and anxious, so who they came for was quite obvious. Xie Lian couldn't help but sigh and nod to himself, thinking beauty really could fill a stomach. That roasted chicken was divided between the two children. Xie Lian only had some porridge, and Hua Cheng didn't touch anything. He smiled. Gerger is really popular in this area. Xie Lian laughed. Don't tease me, San Lang. They were obviously drunk but not on wine. After that bowl went down, Qi Rong was bound outside the shrine for an entire night, howling and screeching, yelling along the lines of, "I'd rather be captured by Lang Qianchu, be butchered to 1,000,000 pieces than to be stuck here and fed poison by you. Cousin Crown Prince, I'm wrong, please I beg you, give me the antidote." And he even seemed to have hallucinated and became delusional. Little Jiuzi was horrified. By early morning, Qi Rong was shriveled up and sucked dry, his face completely green, and lapped at the porridge Jiuzi held in his hand before finally regaining some strength, croaking with a broken voice, "Bullshit. Popular. Who the hell would come for him? Look at that shabby appearance. Also, don't you be so full of yourself, watching you fucker. You can only attract some country chicks from remote places like these at most. They only came clinging because you're dressed so extravagantly. If you dressed the part of a beggar, I doubt they'd even look at you." Xie Lian thought that wasn't right at all. Even if Hua Cheng dressed like a beggar, Xie Lian believed, should he went begging he would collect a mountain of gold. Still, he said nothing, and started doing chores leisurely. After a while, another wave of smell wafted outside and Qi Rong roared again. "What are you doing now?" "What the hell?" Xie Lian replied warmly. "That pot of love for all seasons stew? I'm heating it up." Hearing this, Hua Cheng applauded softly. "What a good name. You gave that fucking thing a name." "Stop." Afraid that Xie Lian would really feed that to him again, just heating the thing up reminded Qi Rong of his terrifying memories, so he dare not talk anymore. After finishing the meal, Lang Ying silently collected the cutleries as if going to do the dishes, and Xie Lian chided, "Let it be. Just go play. I can take care of this." Maybe he wasn't allowed to cook, but he could still do dishes. Hua Cheng watched Lang Ying take Jiuzi out to play and said, "Let me do them." Xie Lian declined the offer. "There's even less reason for you to do them. Just sit." Before he finished speaking, just then, they heard that Qi Rong, who was bored with nothing to do after having filled his stomach, make cat calls, speaking with a greasy tone. "Hey chickie, what are you doing checking me out? Did I make your little tender heart quiver?" That demon was just griping about how he didn't care for country girls but turned around and started flirting, and so tastelessly too. Xie Lian shook his head, thinking he best drag Qi Rong in after all, lest he scare people while stuck outside. Unexpectedly, before he even opened the door, voices of awe from the villagers rang out. "Whoa, beauty of the ages. Why would such beautiful ladies come to our village? I've never seen such pretty ladies in my life. And there's two of them." Soon after, there was a series of knocking on the door of Puqi Shrine. Xie Lian was puzzled. Beauty of the ages? Two of them. Why would two beauties of the ages come knocking on my door? Could it be? Did that wealthy merchant bring his new wives to come return their gratitude? Thinking that this could very well be the case, Xie Lian hurriedly grabbed for the "Please donate to help with renovations of this shrine" sign, ready to set it outside. But then, he heard the frosty voice of one of the women. "What's this thing at the door? Burns the eyes." Immediately, the voice of another woman came, sounding puzzled. "Maybe it's regarding the door? No way. There's no reason to sink so low as to use such a vulgar spiritual beast." Although they were female voices, but Xie Lian had certainly heard of them before. It was Wind Master Qingshan and Earth Master Yi. At first he had wanted to open the door immediately, but then, he whipped his head around, and looked at the Huacheng behind him, who was lazily cleaning up the altar table, and Xie Lian stopped his hands, cautiously peeking out the door through the cracks instead. Outside the door stood two slender and delicate women. One was dressed in white cultivation robes, her lips rosy, her form charming and sensual, a whisk in her hand, her eyes bright. The other was a black-clad woman, skin white as snow, brows beautiful and sharp, yet her expression was dark, her hands clenched in fists, looking away into the distance. That white-robed woman cultivator was face full of smiles, waving her hands all around. "Ha, thanks everyone, thank you. No need to compliment so much, no need to make such a show. I'm very troubled with you all like this. That's enough now, thank you." Ha! Xie Lian. All around was a large, tightly knit crowd of beauty-watching villagers, and after having seen beauties they started pointing and bashing Qi Rong. Qi Rong was displeased and yelled madly, "What are you all looking at? So what if this ancestor likes lying on the ground? Fuck off. There's nothing here to see." The villagers saw how freakily that man behaved, looking maliciously violent with a green face, and dispersed in fright. Shi Qingshan turned to Qi Rong. "This green young master, pray tell, is His Highness the Crown Prince inside the shrine." Hearing that woman address Xie Lian as His Highness the Crown Prince, Qi Rong immediately lost interest in the two beautiful women before him, and clipped his tongue. "Tisk. So you're shitty officials from the upper heavens. As if this ancestor is a dog guarding his door. Listen here, I am." He hadn't finished before Ming Yi glumly approached, and then there was a wail followed by sounds of smacking. From Xie Lian's position he couldn't quite see just what Ming Yi was doing and could only see Shi Qingshan sweep his whisk, chiding. "Ming Shang, it's not good to use violence," Ming Yi said coolly. "What's there to be afraid of? Didn't he say he's not a domesticated spiritual beast?" To prevent Qi Rong from getting beaten to death, Xie Lian could only open the door and raise his hands to stop her. "My lord, have mercy. Don't hit him, he's a person." Seeing that Xie Lian had opened the door, Ming Yi flipped away her black hem and removed her boot from Qi Rong's back. Shi Qingshan on the other hand rushed up and clutched her hands in a curtsy gesture. "Your Highness, I've come a few days early." "What's with that person? He's so full of demonic essence, you can't hide it. Do you take us for blind? Well, let's talk inside. This time I've something really important I need your help with." As she spoke she walked around the Qi Rong who was lying on the ground and crossed over the threshold. Huacheng was still inside, so how could Xie Lian dare to let them in, and he cried hastily. Wait. However, it was too late. Puqi Shrine was only so big and had no place to hide. Immediately the two saw behind Xie Lian's person stood a supreme ghost king who was in the middle of doing dishes. 4 pairs of eyes met. Sparks flew. Huacheng smiled a smile with teeth, yet the smile was ominous and his eyes had no trace of mirth. In an instant, Ming Yi's pupils shrank, and she backed 3 feet away. Shi Qingshan flung out her Wind Master fan, striking an attacking stance, exceedingly alarmed. Crimson Rain sought flower. Outside the door, the ashen-faced Qi Rong roared with rage. "And I'm the Knight Turin Green Lantern. How come none of you recognized me when beating me but knew it was him with just one look? Ming Yi had once infiltrated the Ghost City and spent many years as a spy under Hua Cheng. It was only recently that she was discovered and captured by Hua Cheng, then locked in a maze dungeon and beaten. To have enemies face each other, their eyes brimming with red, the tiny little Puqi shrine was filled with the smell of venom inside and out. Hua Cheng tossed the rag in his hand and squinted a smirk. Lord Earthmaster looks lively. Ming Yi also replied coldly. Lord Ghost King also looks leisurely as always. After having made false perfunctory greetings, the next words that came out of Hua Cheng's mouth were even colder, his expression icy. He warned, "Leave. I don't care what important business you have. Do not come anywhere near here again." Although she feared Hua Cheng, still she refused to back down meekly, and Ming Yi responded with a solemn voice. "To come here was not my role." The smell of venom was going to turn into explosives. Next to them, Xie Lian was growing nervous. Lord Wind Master, what should we do?" Shi Qingshan knocked her fan on her head a few times and said, "I didn't expect Crimson Rain Flower would be here either. Didn't you guys just meet recently? How come you're together again so fast? Anyway, if this can be solved without fists, that'd be good. Violence is bad. If they start fighting, we'll have to hold them back." "I agree, mostly." Qi Rong was hoping the two would start brawling and had been listening intently. Just then he suddenly spoke up. "Oh, so you're that slutty woman Wind Master?" Both Xie Lian and Shi Qingshan turned to look at him. That was exactly how Qi Rong had called Shi Qingshan when he was in his own cave. But even before the person herself he'd dare curse her like this, and Xie Lian couldn't tell if it was out of bravery or lack of mental capabilities. Shi Qingshan had always been raised in dignified grace, so this was probably the first time hearing someone else curse her in this way. She blinked, looking confused, then turned to Xie Lian. "Your Highness, please wait." Then, she exited the shrine and closed the door. Outside, there was another desperate wail from Qi Rong and another bout of smacking. A moment later, Shi Qingshan opened the door to come back in, and he had returned to his male form. "Alright, where were we? I'm feeling kind of hungry too, so how about we all sit down and eat something? There's nothing that can't be negotiated, and nothing that can't be solved at the dinner table." Even though Xie Lian kind of didn't want them to start fighting inside Puqi Shrine. But Hua Cheng seemed to be extremely angry over the whole affair of Ming Yi's infiltration, and without knowing the inside story, it seemed rather impossible to have them sit down and eat agreeably. However, Hua Cheng actually didn't seem to object to the idea, and after a frosty moment, the ice on his face cleared away and he turned back to keep doing dishes. After he was done, he walked to the pot and ladled a full bowl of that love for all seasons stew. Seeing that he backed down first and ceased a battle, the others all sighed a breath of relief. The next step was to change the subject and liven the atmosphere, so Shi Qingshan asked, "Your Highness, what's in that pot? It seems to be hot still." "Oh, I made that," Xie Lian said. That pot had been stewing for a long time, the flavors completely soaked in, and most of the smell had already dissipated. Although the color was still questionable, but the shapes had all but melted away from the stewing, looking much better than it did the night before. Hearing his response, Shi Qingshan was vibrating with excitement. "Really? I've never eaten anything made by the hands of heavenly officials. Come, let's have a taste," he said as he went to grab for 2 sets of cutleries and filled 2 bowls. To be honest, Xie Lian had wanted to stop him at first. However, because Hua Cheng had been so firmly encouraging, bearing seeds of confidence within him, and plus earlier that morning he had changed up the seasoning according to Hua Cheng's suggestions as he heated the stew, so the thought, "Maybe I saved it," appeared in his mind. After some hesitation, he still didn't say anything, and secretly watched with hope as Shi Qingshan passed one of the bowls to Ming Yi. "Come, Ming Shang. This one's yours." Ming Yi took a look at the contents in the bowl and turned her face away, looking unwilling. It was a rude gesture. Shi Qingshan was outraged, and forced the bowl to her, unrelenting. Eat. Didn't you say you were hungry earlier on the road? Hua Cheng lazily raised a spoonful and blew on it, bringing it to his lips, then swallowed. He smiled at Xie Lian. It's definitely lighter today. The flavor's just right. Xie Lian smiled too. Really? I added more water today. Hua Cheng took another bite and smiled happily. Gerger did his best, watching Hua Cheng looking like he was tasting some delicious delicacy. It was exceedingly convincing. A moment later, Ming Yi took the bowl after all. Shi Qingshan smiled. That's better. And the two spooned a mouthful at the same time, taking a bite. End chapter.